I think we can begin, and anyone else can catch up with us or catch the recording later on YouTube. Okay, so well, good morning. My name is Masila Katrada, for those who just joined us. And I am a lecturer. I design a few of the courses at Varsity, and I manage the technology stack, the website, the learning management system, and the other tools that we use for kind of running the business on a day-to-day. So I want to talk to you guys about getting out into the world, right? It's perhaps the scariest part, and for me it was. I'll admit it. The learning was fun. The campus life, the online work, the assignments. They had its ups and downs, but that was the fun part. The part that really shocked you, it gets you a bit out of catches you off guard, is putting yourself out into the world to start doing work. Now let me break it down into three categories, right? So at Varsity and at most colleges, especially the kind of courses that we do here, you have options for how you are going to work, right? First, we have just job-seeking students. So we go through the entire qualification, you get the skills that you need, you put out your CV to as many companies, and with the hopes that you land a full-time position. Okay, but in this amazing world that we live in, and because of technology and the gig economy and freelancing, we have the option to freelance, and that means you don't have the pressure of an organization telling you what to do, or restrictions restricting you to a certain type of job, but you have the responsibility to chart your own course, and you can sail the ship wherever you like. Okay. And third, related to freelancing, but on a whole different level of its own, is entrepreneurship. Okay. So with the skills that you get from any college, any kind of online course, from life experience, you have these three options, and these are maybe the three biggest options that we have for work and for making money. Now, while each approach is different, there are things that we can do that will increase our odds, okay, to get employed. To start making money. The first thing that I want to start off with, and I've narrowed down my this approach into three steps, right? Number one, where do you start once you got your skills, is your brand. Okay, that's where I think, and that's where I recommend all of our students start their journey. So before you even look at which companies you're going to put your applications to, or where you're going to start hosting your work or your portfolios, it's a good exercise to just sit for a minute, for as long as it takes, but not too long, hopefully, and get to know yourself a little bit more. Because, okay, let's be honest, this is something that you're going to be doing for the better part of your life, possibly for the rest of your life. It's going to become part of your lifestyle, your work, okay? So at this point, before you even make that first leap, to know what you want, it's a huge advantage, and it helps you to answer the rest of the questions around your career, okay? So what do I mean by this? Now, a brand, we know it as like a logo and your marketing copy, for example, the kind of colors and language that you use. It's very similar in a personal brand. You just sit with yourself and get to know yourself a little bit better. What do you like? How do you like to work? What kind of work do you like to do? What are your values? What are things that that you would do and things that you wouldn't do? And you just I guess, listen to yourself and write it down. Okay. Very important. Write it down. Write everything that comes to your head down, even if it seems unreasonable, it seems unrealistic at the time, but write it down. This is going to help you to articulate, okay, to describe yourself better. When you get to know yourself better, you'll know how to put yourself out better. Okay. And I think it works the same for almost anything. Let's say you have a product that you want to sell. Okay. Whether it's your product or somebody else's product, the first step would be to learn about the product. Okay. Say you sell phones. You cannot just go up to somebody and hope that they're going to know about the device. They're going to ask you questions. What's the camera like? What's the screen like? What's the battery life like? These are the important questions that you need to know about your product and, in this exercise, about yourself. Okay. So your brand is, to me, the most important thing. And why I also think it's very important is because at this stage of your journey, you are building up your mindset, right? And this is going to be critical later on. Your mindset, your individual mindset. It's not about what everybody else is doing. It's not about how everybody else is succeeding. It's about you. And it's about your challenges. So getting to know who you are and how you would like to tackle these challenges, what kind of challenges to tackle, for example, is very, very important. And it's critical. And there's days where you kind of fall off. Everybody has the bad days. You're going to fall off. You're going to feel things are getting a bit too hard. You come back to your brand. You come back to the meaning that you gave yourself, the story that you tell about yourself, your values, your principles. I think Tony Robbins describes it as, I think it's priming. I think that's the word that they use, but it's basically a form of meditation where you sit and remind yourself who you are. And you don't just, it's not just thoughts, you don't just think it, but you feel it. You feel this person or the things that this person you would feel and how they behave. Okay. The next part about branding, and we'll touch on this a little bit later on, is now to showcase that. Once you know yourself, the next step is to put that out so other people can see, right? So your clients, your network, your team, right? This is the same when you're working, when you're trying to build up your CV, for example, when you are building up your freelance profile, or if you're an entrepreneur and you're building the brand for your business. Okay. One example that comes to mind, and this is got to do more with people who are seeking jobs. So you know how the system works, right? You go to college, you go to school, go to college. When you finish with college or when you're about done, you start putting together a CV. And the chances are there's like going to be 10,000 people with identical skills, identical qualification, same experience. Maybe they even did the same extracurricular activities that you. And everybody is trying to get the spot at the good jobs, right? So I was at a seminar once, and one of the employers told us a story about a person that they hired who was not, by his admission, the brightest, didn't have the greatest accolades, but in a pool of about 100 or so other participants, I think the word, this person stood out because of their extracurricular activities. They would do things like creativity on the side or singing or something like that on the side that just made them more appealing to the employer. It just gave them that little edge that set them apart. And yeah, so you think it's only about the skill, it's only about what you did, it's about you as well, because they're going to be working with you for the rest of their life, probably the rest of their life, at least for the next couple of years. So you want to be with someone who's interesting. You want to employ people who fit the culture and the dynamic of your company. And these are the things that people look out for. Okay. So yes, while the knowledge and the skill and expertise is important, work on your unique self as well. Get to know yourself first, and then you learn how to put that out to other people. Okay. Just give me 1 minute to admit more people. Welcome if you're joining us now. We are just going through strategies for putting yourself out into the world for employment or to make money. And we just touched on building up a brand for yourself. Okay, so I'm going to avoid going into too much detail to tell you exactly how you set up a brand and what's important. I think you should do the research for yourself. I think there's enough. It's such a unique journey. So what's going to go into it is it's going to be unique to everybody else. So use chat, use Google, and start to build up your brand or your profile. Okay. Moving on to number 2. Now that you have you know who you are, or you know what you like, what you're gonna do, it's time to set a goal. Okay, it's time to focus. Focus. I like to use that word because in almost every single interview or story from professionals, from athletes, from entrepreneurs, from people who have made it in whatever field they are, most of the time, if you ask them, or when they get asked, what was the secret to your success? It's not really where they grew up or the school they went to. They'll tell you that they just had a razor sharp focus, and that was the pillar for their lives. When things were good, when things were bad, that ability to focus on where they were going, what they wanted to get, that's what gave them that power to get up every day and go for it. Okay. So when we say focus, we mean setting goals, right? Picture yourself now. Where would you want to be in the next year, in the next 3 years? Who is that person? Should be a very different person from the one who's just got through building, writing out their brand, right? Because, okay, nothing stops you here. You can dream about literally anything. Of course, it must be realistic and it must fit with your brand. But put yourself in that position. Don't just think about it like you're doing some mundane exercise. This is going to be your future, right? That's why we're doing this. That is why we set goals. It's not so we can just maybe one day by some chance get there, because you want it bad enough that it consumes, it becomes who you are. So when you're setting a goal, when you're setting your focus, try to feel that achievement. Try to feel the emotions going through that person, that future you, who's got what they wanted, right? Now that goes for landing the job that you want. I guess an important technique that many people tell us about is the power of visualization, right? Knowing exactly what you want helps you to visualize it a lot better, right? So picture yourself in the company that you want to work for. Or if you are doing the freelance route, picture the lifestyle that you want to live. I mean, chances are you opted for this because it's not just the money that draws you in, it's something broader than that. Okay. It's you, maybe you want to be a digital nomad. Maybe you dream of having a network of people around the world to work with. Maybe you like to move around. Maybe you like that freedom. So picture yourself having that. Picture the person who has that, who lives that life, and picture how they live. What do they do? Okay. How do they go about their day? What keeps them motivated? And that's how you make a very, very true, very realistic goal. Okay. And keep in mind your brand, of course, but keep in mind that it must be logical. Okay. You can't just wake up and they think that, you know, you're going to, I don't know, what's something impossible? Be an astronaut in the next 3 years. I don't know, that comes to mind, but you get my point. Even when you're talking about how much money you want to earn, you're not going to make $1 billion. You're not going to make 1 million followers. It's baby steps, but you know, it's one hill before you get to the next one, before you get to the next one, before you get to the next one. Okay. Setting your goal, setting your focus, good for motivation, of course. It's good to visualize where you're going to be, amazing, right? But it's going to help you to prioritize also. Okay. We're going to learn later on in our journeys that um, time is the most valuable thing that we have. Is, you know, it's how we spend our time, how we choose to invest in our time. That's going to dictate directly the results that we're going to see. So if you know what you want, you know what's important. This is going to kind of happen by itself. You're going to prioritize the things that really matter. Okay. So later on, we will talk about putting it into an actual plan, but just knowing without a doubt what you want is automatically going to give you those blinkers to shut everything else out. Okay. If you're looking for a programming job and you know that's what I'm looking for, that's what I studied for, this is what I built my brand around, that's my focus is to one day make it to be the lead developer at a company. I promise you, you're not going to be looking at marketing jobs. You're not going to be looking at sales jobs. You're not going to apply for those. Okay, this is a very basic example, but focus. Okay, just we can talk. We could have done this entire webinar, I think, on just focus and why it's so important, and the examples that we learned from other successful people who, by their own admission, weren't the smartest and have the best of opportunities, but the way they won compared to everybody else is when they got up in the morning, they didn't have to think about what's the next step. They already knew it. Okay. Right. The third point on focus that I want to mention is your understanding your offering. Okay. As a job seeker, this is probably going to be answered for you. You will look at the listings of available positions, for example, and maybe modify your CV to fit that. For freelancers and entrepreneurs, this means understanding what you're going to offer, who your target market, your target market is, and you know, we talked about it more in the BSP, and Bilal will be able to talk much more on this when it comes to business. So I recommend you check out the YouTube channel for this content. But I want to talk more about the people who are just getting into the working world as maybe freelancers. So with the skills that you have, the doors are open wide for you, and there are hundreds, thousands of opportunities that want to come through that door. You can't obviously take all of them. Okay, and that's where you focus again. So let's just take something. Let's take web design. Okay, web design by itself is not really uh, focused enough because there's just so much. You could be, for example, you could start off with just making regular websites. Okay, that's what a web designer does. Web designers also make e-commerce websites, learning management systems. Web designers can also do email newsletters, landing pages, portfolio sites, specialty websites, interactive websites, sites that are geared specifically for marketing, sites that are just there for information, wiki sites. It goes on. You can do custom sites, or you can do CMS sites like WordPress, for example, or you could specialize in building completely custom websites. So this is where you need to do the research and think about where do I want to fit in? Which kind of clients do I want to touch with my work? What kind of businesses? Maybe you can tie it into a cause. Maybe you just want to work on non-profit websites, for example. Okay. Maybe you want to work with budding entrepreneurs. Maybe that's where your focus lies, that you just want to help smaller businesses to come up. But you can't, like the point I'm trying to make is you can't be the web designer for every company in the world. There's just so much. There's just so many different types, so many different needs for every business, for every person, for every individual. So how do you find the one that makes money? Of course, you don't want to do something that's just a dead and nobody wants, but also the thing that excites you, something that you could see yourself doing for the foreseeable future, and something that's going to fit in again with your brand, and something that's actually achievable for you. Okay. So, and the same goes for if you want to do, for example, a marketing agency. You could be a marketing agency that focuses more on content creation, like written word, or you could be one that focuses more on photography, videography. You know, you just take each one of those and you start digging a little bit deeper into it, and you realize the amount of work that goes into just one of them, the team that you're going to need, the special skills. You understand why you can't just say, I'm going to be a designer, or I'm just going to be a photographer and be it. You have to focus in. You have to focus on where you fit in. And I think that the best way to do that is by understanding yourself, and then doing the legwork and understanding, sorry, understanding your clients and the kind of work that you want to do. Okay, so just to summarize on what we said about focus is, it helps you to visualize your goals. It puts you, before you even took the first step out the door, it puts you into the position of the person you want to be in the future. And I think that's a very, very powerful motivator, very, very powerful driver. Focusing will help you to prioritize your work, your individual tasks, the things that you're going to spend your time and effort, your money on. And it helps you to hone in on your target audience, on your niche. That's the word I should have used, niche, right? It helps you to find that niche, and it depends on each person, but how you define a niche, or the criteria that you use to define a niche that you want to fit into, it's up to you. It could be the one that's making the most money, it could be the one that you think is going to blow up in the future, it could be the one that's just most secure, it could be the one that's most creative. There's no wrong answer here. Nobody can actually tell you that this is going to work, that's not going to work. You just gotta go, gotta do it. If it works, good. If it doesn't, you just learned from it, and just get up and realign your focus. Try it again. Okay. Any questions so far? Please just drop them in. Good morning. Okay, we have one question. Okay, so we have a question that's directed to me about some of the courses that I designed. Thanks for that question, Keenan. I designed the WordPress course, and before that was some of the HTML courses. I think it was the superhero app and the recipe book app. The challenges, where do we start with? It's quite of a challenging thing. I mean, for me, whenever it comes to teaching in general, the part that I always found most challenging was getting over I think like a block or anxiety about putting out something that's not going to work, or that's not valuable. That's, you kind of have that fear that what if I'm teaching and it's wrong? You know what you're doing and you practice it, but that's a fear I think that everybody's going to go through, no matter what you're doing, whether you're trying to get employed or whether you're trying to start a business of your own, or put out any kind of content. you're gonna find that. But also it's the whole on a broader uh to give a broader answer to that is the challenges around content creation. That would have been the most difficult things for me. It's taking a huge concept and then breaking it apart into logical pieces, then recording, going through the process of editing and modifying and putting out a final result. I hope that answers your question. Come you uh, okay. Before we move on, I just want to touch on the part about fears because I didn't really give it its own section, but yeah, I think that going through, I mean, I started off the webinar by talking about the anxieties that you feel about getting out into the world, and the fears that you face. And one way to beat those fears is to do what we're talking about here, is know yourself, know who you are, know your brand. um, that immediately takes away the fear of the unknown. um, okay, then creating your focus, creating something that's tangible, creating a dream that you can achieve. That energy kind of will defeat fear by itself, because if you want it bad enough, I think fear is just one of the small things that are going to be standing in your way. um, let's move on to number 3, the third point in the process of putting yourself out and getting work, is a plan, okay? A strategy, a plan of action. So until this point, the first 2 points, brand and focus, is, I guess, more thinking work. It's more philosophical. It's nothing really tangible yet that that you put out, but it sets the foundation for creating an effective plan or strategy. And this goes for, again, job seekers, for freelancers, and for business people. In fact, when you're starting a business, these 3 steps are probably going to be the first thing that you tackle before you even start developing your product. You're going to be creating a business plan. You're going to be creating your brand, and you're going to be creating your products. So the third point, the final point in this process, is the plan and the strategy. Now, this is a big one to go through again, also because there's just so much information about it, and there's so many different approaches. Again, when I say there's so much to go through, it doesn't. I hope it doesn't make you scared by like you think you gotta have to go and learn all these new techniques. It's just that it's been done so many times, and there's so many different approaches. There is very you can't really say which is right and wrong, because so many different things have worked for so many people. So just a few important points about creating a plan, right? When you have you know who you are, and you have your focus, the plan is the line that's missing in between. Okay, how do you get now from where you are to the place you want to be? It's a journey. So it's like a road trip. You you got a destination in mind, and you may be about 5 hours away in some other place. You open up a map and you plot out exactly how you're going to get there, and this plan is identical to that. Okay, so some strategies for creating a solid plan. But first, why it's important? It gives you, again, it gives you more clarity on, not so much now on what your vision is or what your goal is, but what you're going to be spending your time on, because there's only a limited amount of time in the day, and as you start to fill the time with more and more productive things, you're going to realize very quickly that, it seems like there just isn't enough time to go around. And that's why we need a plan, we need a schedule. And this is for yourself, for your own personal self to perform at your full potential, but also for your business. Okay, a plan is and the strategy is important for your freelance journey and your business as well. And the great thing is that these strategies that I've listed, which I'm going to tell you about, works for both. Okay, the first exercise I would like you to try is the SWOT analysis. I think we've heard about this one a lot, but the reason it keeps coming up because it works, and it's really, really effective at getting you to focus on the things that are important, right? Your strengths, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your threats, right? Write them down, whether you are writing it for yourself or for your business. Write them down, okay? Because that's going to help you with the next step, where you identified all of the things that need to happen, and it's just like it's like a mess, and it's scary because there's like 100 things that need to get done, but you just have limited time in the day and in the week. Now you can block out individual times for each thing, okay? This will help you to create an effective schedule so that nothing important gets left out. And at the end of the day, there's enough time for you to sleep, work on your health, or all the other things that are important to you. So the idea of this plan, the strategy that you're going to design, isn't, again, it's not just something that you're going to write down, like some timetable you're going to put onto a wall. It's the code that you're going to live by day to day. You're going to wake up, and from a certain time to a certain time, you know that nothing else is going to bother you, because this time is allocated for doing a certain task. And when you're working for an employee, they're gonna do that for you. But in a business and in a freelance setting, there's nobody who's going to tell you stop wasting your time, or you need to be more productive. And if you mess up, whether you just lazy and don't do it, or whether you prioritize the wrong things, you're going to feel the pinch of it alone. But on the flip side, if you take the time to do these steps, to visualize your path and stick to your plan, stick to your routine, and continuously improve it, there's no doubt you're going to see the results of that. I mean, you can only throw a dart at a dartboard so many times before it eventually sticks somewhere. That's just how I see it. So create a plan that works for you, and you've already have this vision again of where you are. So make sure the plan fits with that. Okay, make sure you have enough time for all things that are important to you. Make sure that your day is not just filled with just the work. There's other parts of you as well, and that's where your brand will tell you, all the things that are important to you, all things that in your life you need to take care of. Take care of them in this plan. Once you put it down in the schedule, use the calendar app or just a table that you draw on with a paper and pencil, like we used to do in school, from this time to this time, this, from this time to that time, that, etc. So create it, make sure it aligns with your brand and your focus, and make sure that you stick to it. And remember that it's not cast in stone, okay? So if things are not working out for you, move it around. But the important thing is you need to be accountable to it, and you need to stay consistent with it. That's by far, I think, is going to be one of the most challenging things in life now, journeys, is to keep consistent. You know this, if you ever tried to do a workout routine, for example, try to do anything consistently, it's not doing the thing once or twice that's difficult. It's doing it every single day for a few months without missing a day. Okay, I'm just gonna, before I move on, I'm just gonna answer a few more questions. Outside of IT varsity, yeah, I have worked on, the question is if I worked on projects outside of IT varsity. I have mostly just freelance or my own passion projects, but yeah, from the time I left school, I studied at IT varsity, and most of my work has been at the college as well. Mm, can you share strategy you've seen experience that help inspire confidence? Okay, that's a good question. Um, and okay, we have two good questions. Okay, so let me tackle Jade, your question first. And the question is that if the portfolios can be evaluated against industry standards, and if our current skills align to job prospects. Okay, so Jay, for sure, we can at Varsity, somebody from the team can look through your profile and your portfolio and give you feedback. But um, like I mentioned before, it's the field of IT is so broad, right? I'll tell you what works for me, but there isn't a concrete answer. There isn't like 1 + 1 = 2, and it's just going to be the answer. It is a lot of trial and error, but it's also a lot of intuition. What I like to do is, and this is how I keep myself updated on what the industry trends are. It's quite simple actually when you think about it. I just go and look at the big websites. Okay, so whether it's the guys from Nasdaq or whether it's the Magnificent Seven companies, whichever one that stands out to me, whichever one that kind of aligns with the work I want to do. I look at the big guys, the guys who usually maybe turn over hundreds of millions in a year. See, okay, what are they doing? You know, you can use, for example, if you want to get like very technical with it, you can open up the element inspector on their websites and kind of figure out how they put everything together. Um, another way, another thing that I like to do is go on sites like Dribbble, Behance, or Pinterest, and people post their inspirations or their work there. And I would find something that looks very nice, or an effect or an animation. Maybe somebody's done a very cool JavaScript slider, and I just had to copy that. Okay. Um, so yeah, it's a very creative process, but I think just keep experimenting with it. Look for things that inspire you, that make you excited, that give you that feeling like, oh, I wonder how they did this, and I wonder if I could do that. That's usually how I'm guided to the right answers. I hope that answers your question. And from Rumesa, can you share strategies that you've seen or experienced that can help inspire the confidence to push yourself into the working field, especially since IT is such a popular choice of employment today? Um, so what works for me is knowing what I want. And it is a bit selfish, but you have to be a little bit selfish to think about your own achievement, think about yourself a little bit. And that's the first thing that gives you confidence, right? That when you wake up and you're not exactly where you want to be, there's work to be done, that pushes you, right? But also the kind of work that you do, also gives you confidence, right? If you're excited about it, if it's challenging you in the right ways, if you're a creative person and you're getting to do creative work, you're getting to do thinking work, it's you're gonna find a passion and want to do it more. And yeah, I think those two things for me. Find things that are exciting for you, and also focus on what you want out of it. Focus on what you want to get. Focus on the rewards, and not so much on the fears and the challenges. It's always going to be there, and you're always going to be um, adapting your strategy. You're always going to be fighting with some unforeseen challenge or the other. So I think just keep the focus on yourself and on your passion. Okay, so I am running a bit out of time. I just want to finish the point on creating a strategy. I just want to mention one more strategy for creating strategies. You might have heard of, it's called SMART. Okay, they say set SMART goals. Look into this and do this exercise. When you are setting a goal, make sure that they are SMART, meaning that they're specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time bound. Okay. This has worked for so many people. I've seen it mentioned so many times, but it's a really good exercise to help you make good decisions, set good goals, and plans that you're actually going to be able to follow through on. Okay. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I would love to continue this discussion a little bit more. Maybe in a later webinar, we can dig in a little bit deeper as more questions come in. Thank you. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And it's really fun. I always enjoy talking to our students, our graduates, or anybody who's in the working field. It's a lot of times you kind of feel like in a bubble that all the pressure is just on you, but it's nice to connect with people and realize that, okay, there's a lot of challenges, and more importantly, those challenges can be overcome. Okay. Yeah, if there's no more questions, I'm gonna leave it at that. Thanks so much for staying and for listening into the entire talk. If you do want to go through it again, the video will be up on the IT Varsity YouTube channel. I also recommend that you check out some of the other videos. Like I mentioned, Bilal's done some in the recently. He's talked to professionals from Take a Lot, for example, in the industry to give their experience. So it's very valuable stuff. Yeah, please let me know what you think. Also, you can just email IT Varsity or IT Varsity support, or drop us a DM or comment to let us know what you like, what you didn't like. And looking forward to see you guys in the next one, inshallah. Okay, assalamu alaikum. Goodbye.